Volvo is currently making a lot of changes in their lineup, specifically when it comes to the model names and how they're going to name their hybrids and also compared to how they're naming their EVs. So what we're going to do in this video is have a look at what's going on with Volvo and also check out the new EX30. Compare that to the C40 Recharge, which in my opinion, I'm not sure. Look at both of these cars. I'm not sure which one I prefer when it comes to the styling. I think both of them look great. But probably the C40 Recharge just has a little bit of an advantage, specifically with this rear end here. This is a coupe sort of hatchback that I actually think looks good, and that is not a very common thing. So with that said, let's check out this article from Car Scoops and let's see what this is all about. So Volvo temporarily kills the C40 and renames several models. The C40 Recharge is dead, but it will return in 2026 as an EC40. So now you have the EC40, the EX30, and it's, I don't know, is it getting a little confusing here? So Volvo is renaming several models as the company works to better differentiate its lineup. The Recharge moniker is being dropped as a handful of models adopt the EX prefix. The EX30 and the EX90 are new for 2025. Love both those designs. The thing here, though, is the EX90 compared to the XC90, you still have this sort of EV design when it comes to the styling, meaning that it's a lot more product designy. And I think I made a video on that before, comparing the EX90 to the XC90 and the reason why I prefer the internal combustion version, the XC90 to the EX90. It's just because it has more emotion. And that is something that I don't understand really why we need to have such, less of an emotional design when it comes to EVs. So the electric XC40 Recharge become the EX40, while the XC40 moniker will still be used. Okay, so they still use XC40 for mild hybrid variants. The C40 Recharge is going on a short hiatus as it's being dropped for 2025. However, it will return for the 2026 model year as the EC40. Volvo didn't explain the reasoning behind this move. The EX30 is new to America and it starts at $44,900, which I think is a pretty decent price for what you're getting. It features a 69 kilowatt-hour battery pack as well as a dual-motor all-wheel drive setup with 422 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in this crossover in 3.4 seconds in a range of 253 miles. And it looks great as well. We're going to have a look at this in a moment here in Photoshop compared to the old C40 Recharge. The EX90 is also new for 2025 and US models are built in South Carolina. Starting price here is just under $80,000 and that will give the buyers a 111 kilowatt-hour battery pack as well as dual motor all-wheel drive. Of course, this being a big SUV, that's what we want to have. 402 horsepower. So we have less horsepower in the bigger EX90 than we have in the EX30. We have 422 in the smaller crossover, and the big SUV comes with 402 horsepower. Very, very interesting to see. More pound-feet of torque, though. 568 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in about 5.7 seconds. The range is great as well, 310 miles on a single charge. And lastly, we have the beauty, the stunning piece of art that is the new 2025 XC90. It's a 2025.5 model year, I guess. It was introduced last September with a new front fascia and modernized Thor's hammer headlights. And this is something that I think is very cool by Volvo. They really nailed I mean, it doesn't get a clearer identity than Thor's hammer in the front end. However, the old XC90, you could get it in a very, very base spec that did not have the Thor's hammer in the front end. Very unusual to see those. But whenever I see those, it just looks wrong to have those old Edison bulb light bulbs in the front of the car. You gotta have the Thor's hammer for the XC90. You also have an updated infotainment system, of course, for the XC90. Pricing for that one starts at $58,450, with the base variant having 247 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in about 7.3 3 seconds. With that said, let's check this out. Let's jump in Photoshop here, have a look at the we have the C40 Recharge there on the left, and we have the brand new EX30 on the right side. I want to hear your opinion here. Which one do you think looks the best? In the front end, what I love about the C40 Recharge here, I remember having this in Florida for a week to review. Very, very comfortable and smooth ride. I loved the quality, the build quality that we have here. Also loved these lines in the front. You see how this sort of corner or curves around and then comes in and creates the housing for the headlight unit. And you can see that this is an EV because look at the grill here. It's all covered up. We don't have any sort of openings here at all. I like this styling at the lower section with some sharp edges and a proper separation between the top half and the lower half graphics right here. You have the grill for the battery pack down here, or the ventilation with some fog lights down here as well. Beautiful looking design. The only thing that I would like to change here, maybe, we have very static feeling in the lower section, but up here on the hood, even though I like these lines, I would like to have some more fluidity down low at the bottom. Looking at the EX30 here, and this is what I'm talking about. If you look at these two, you can see that we don't really have this fluid design that we have in the C40 Recharge. This emotional design, we still have very clean lines up on the hood, pretty static looking lines, and a separation here as well. As you can see, the top half, lower half still sort of have the same, I would say, sharp styling down here at the bottom. And Thor's hammer in a completely new variant here. And this is a trend that we see a lot. I think Hyundai was the first to start this, to have sort of this pixelated headlight design. We have it in the EX90 as well, where you have you can open them up like an eyelid. And I think behind there are actually the headlight unit, if I remember it correctly. Very cool design. You can see that this is definitely a dedicated EV, because it doesn't even have a frame for where a grille is supposed to sit here in the front end. Again, a beautiful looking design, but a lot more product designy than the C40 Recharge. Now, the biggest change here between these two is, of course, you're going to have the coupe shape for the C40, and the EX30 has this more boxy shape. I'm not sure here. I don't think that this, usually what happens when we have coupe SUVs is when you cut out this mass back here, this volume that usually sits something like this, it looks a lot more front heavy. It looks like the front is way too heavy visually for the rest of the proportions here. But looking at this actually looks very, very nice. I don't think it feels as front heavy as a lot of other coupe SUVs. Love the line that we have down here, and of course these cutouts in the front, and also have the same cutout down here in the back that then goes back and creates the roof line. Beautiful design. Love the taillight shape as well. The wheels look fine. They're not the most exciting looking wheels, I would say, but still, it's a very, very Scandinavian, beautiful looking lines, because Scandinavian design is all about simplicity and minimalism, in combination with great choices of specifically interior materials. Now, looking at the EX30 here, in this case, I'm not sure. This might actually, the side profile of this EX30 might actually have more of a organic shape. Maybe not organic, because you can see here how static this piece look in the lower section. It's a square, basically, a rectangle with some rounded corners, and sort of more of a boxy design. Still a sloping roofline, looking very nice. Completely new treatment for the taillight design. The wheels in this case, compared to the C40 Recharge, I do think I prefer the XC30's wheels here. And you can see that we have this black piece in the lower section, and this is of course where the battery pack lives, all the way down low to keep the center of gravity low. I like that we have the two-tone with the black roof on the C40. We also have that here in the new EX30. Beautiful design by Volvo. Still has the clear Volvo design. So I'm still confused, the different design languages between Polestar and Volvo, because to me they sort of feels like the same brand. Specifically now, the Volvo has a bunch of EVs out on the market. Now, looking at the C40, this is by far the best view for this car. I mean, three-quarter rear view of this with these stunning taillight designs that we have going on here, and these small little chamfers clear separation for the bumper, and this little integrated wing in the back end just looks so good. I think it was a absolutely stunning looking design. You can see the black piece down here, which is totally fine because this is, of course, supposed to be more of a rugged looking crossover and have some off-road capability, so you don't want to have all the way painted body color all the way down here in case you scratch it. Now looking at the new EX30, you can see the new treatment of the taillights design right here. This looks very again static, but in a very clean way. It does have a lot of nice flow to it, and I do like that we have the separation now between the two elements. Volvo has usually had this connection here between these two elements, something like this, but now you can see that they're separated by body panel, and I think it's a cool idea. It adds even more. You'd want to have some identity in the rear end as well, and I think the C40 did that great, and you also have a great identity in the rear end for the new EX30. Still have a separation here for the bumper and a nice line cutting in right here, just adding some styling features onto this car. Now last but not least, the interiors of the C40 and the EX30. Now this is also something that is, of course, very, very trendy right now, to just remove as much as possible from the interior. In this case, I 100% prefer the old C40 interior. This is a beautiful looking interior. Not too big of an infotainment screen right here. We don't need a big screen, a 14-inch on the dash. We have a couple of physical buttons down here, but as you can see, we have the controls for the climate settings integrated in the lower section of the infotainment screen, even though we do have the radio buttons and stuff like that down here. A couple of USBs, wireless charger down here as well. This blue interior is fantastic. Looked so good sitting in this car, and we have a fully digital gauge cluster up here with a housing for it, which is so nice to see on new cars today, which is becoming, of course, less and less common. Now looking at the EX30 here, the material choices, if we look at the styling, for example, the air vents right here, we still have horizontal or vertical looking air vents, and they look very nice, very cool design. I also like this shelf that we have going all around it. But why don't we have a gauge cluster in new EVs? Why do we have to remove that feature? I don't know why. I also don't think that this integration of the infotainment screen right here isn't as good as it was in the C40. This looks way better integrated in the dash overall, but look at the material choices here, and this is what we talked about when it comes to Scandinavian design, just having very clean and very elegant quality feel for the interior materials, and I think Volvo has done a great job with both of these cars, and I do look forward to seeing the EX30 out on the roads.